With 2020 now behind us, it is time to start looking forward to what 2021 has to offer. While we're still in the midst of dealing with COVID-19, especially in North America, at this point, studios have fully adapted to the unconventional world we are living in at the moment, so we hopefully won't be seeing as many delays this year. 2021 is looking to be a stacked year for film, and there are quite a few highly anticipated releases to look forward to. Without further ado, here are my picks for my top 10 most anticipated films of 2021. Before I start, here's a list of some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions: Raya the Last Dragon, March 5th, No Time to Die, April 2nd, In the Heights, June 18th, Old, July 23rd, The Green Knight, July 30th, The Beatles, Get Back, August 27th, The Last Duel, October 15th, The Eternals, November 5th, Gucci, November 24th, West Side Story, December 10th, Spider-Man 3, December 17th, The Nightingale, December 22nd, Red Rocket, TBA, Annette, TBA. The Tragedy of Macbeth, TBA, Don't Look Up, TBA. The Power of the Dog, TBA. 10. A Quiet Place Part 2, April 23, LR, Regan, Millicent Simmons, Marcus, Noah Jupe, and Evelyn, Emily Blunt, Brave the Unknown in A Quiet Place Part 2. John Krasinski's inventive horror film A Quiet Place absolutely blew me away and was one of my absolute favorite films of 2018. Not only was the film's use of sound revolutionary, but it also had a surprising amount of emotional depth that not many saw coming. While the film doesn't necessarily need a sequel, Krasinski is returning to the directing chair and it features the same cast and crew, so that's certainly a reason for optimism. A Quiet Place Part 2 was supposed to be released in March, the week after theaters initially shut down worldwide due to the lockdown. Certain critics were given the opportunity to watch the film prior to the lockdown and the reactions to it were stellar, with many stating it was a worthy sequel that lived up to its predecessor. With themes that are somewhat relevant to the pandemic, A Quiet Place Part 2 is going to hit closer to home than it would have if it were released last year. 9. Luca, June 18th, set in a beautiful seaside town on the Italian Riviera, Disney and Pixar's Luca is a coming-of-age story about a boy and his newfound best friend experiencing an unforgettable summer filled with gelato, pasta and endless scooter rides. But their fun is threatened by a secret: they are sea monsters from another world. Luca is directed by Enrico Casarosa, La Luna, and produced by Andrea Warren, Lava, Cars 3. Copyright 2020 Disney, Pixar. All rights reserved. Many longtime fans were questioning whether Pixar still had any gas left in the tank. Fortunately, the acclaimed animation studio released one of their very best and most mature films to date last month in the form of Soul. With Soul, Pixar proved that they still are capable of delivering magical cinematic experiences. Luca is set to be their 24th film and many fans are getting the feeling that it could be another knockout. The film is a coming-of-age tale about a boy living near the Italian Riviera, who befriends a sea monster. While we're still waiting on a trailer, the stills and clip that have been released so far are absolutely gorgeous, displaying a colorful animation style. While it's entirely possible the film could be a more kid-oriented entry into Pixar's filmography in the vein of Onward and Finding Dory, though it looks to be more along the lines of Coco and Soul. 8. Amsterdam, TBA. David O. Russell had a legendary run in the early 2010s with the star-studded Oscar contenders The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle. It's been 5 years since his last film, Joy, hit theaters. The film was admittedly a misfire, but it's been long enough that fans are now anxiously awaiting Russell's next move. The film seems like a return to form, based on the cast alone. The film revolves around an unlikely partnership between a doctor and a lawyer, and stars Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Rami Malek, Zoe Saldana, Robert De Niro, Mike Myers, Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Rock, Michael Shannon, Andrea Riseborough and Matthias Schoenaerts. While the premise is still very vague, Amsterdam, a working title, is undoubtedly destined for Oscar Gold. 7. The French Dispatch, TBA, from LR, Elizabeth Moss, Owen Wilson, Tilda Swinton, Fisher Stevens and Griffin Dunn in the film The French Dispatch. Photo courtesy of Searchlight Pictures. Copyright 2020 20th Century Fox Film Corporation. All rights reserved. Initially scheduled to premiere at the 2020 Cannes Film Festival, The French Dispatch saw a few delays before it eventually settled on a 2021 release. Wes Anderson is a personal favorite filmmaker's, so it's no surprise that his 10th feature-length film is making my list once again. The trailer was released at the beginning of 2020 and by the looks of it, Anderson's anthology-based love letter to the newspaper industry could very well be one of his best films to date. Regardless of if you enjoy his quirky sensibilities, Anderson is a master of his craft whose writing and visual style cannot be replicated, and it looks like he's once again crafted another completely original technical marvel. With an absolutely stacked cast, maybe his best lineup yet, it's impossible not to be intrigued by Anderson's latest endeavor. 6. Nightmare Alley, TBA, Daily Mail. Coming off of the Best Picture-winning opus The Shape of Water, legendary filmmaker Guillermo del Toro is back with another star-studded Oscar contender that looks to be one of his best films to date. Based on the 1946 novel of the same name, an ambitious carnival worker turned conman, with a talent for manipulating people, teams up with a female psychiatrist, who reveals to be even more dangerous than he is. The film has an absolutely stellar cast including Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, Toni Collette, Richard Jenkins, Ron Perlman, Rooney Mara, David Strathairn and Tim Blake Nelson. With Del Toro directing and writing the script, this is sure to be one of the most creative and magical films the year has to offer. 5. Last Night in Soho, April 23. Edgar Wright is one of the few filmmakers working today that can draw in mass audiences by name recognition alone. His unique brand of comedy, singular visual style and knack for creating iconic protagonists makes him a star in his own right. Despite not being quite a fan of everything Wright has made, he's undoubtedly a brilliant filmmaker who flawlessly, seamlessly blends genres together in a way that no other filmmaker is able to do. Originally scheduled for September 2020, Last Night in Soho was pushed to April 2021, just shortly after the Oscars eligibility, making it one of the first major releases of 2021. Last Night in Soho is a departure for Wright, as it seems him steering away from his typical comedic style and going in an art house horror direction. The images that have been released so far look stunning and are definitely reminiscent of 1970s horror films, with a neo-noir twist. With current It girls Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie starring in the film is sure to be one of the most widely discussed films of the year. 4. Come On, TBA, page 6. Despite being very well respected in the independent scene, Mike Mills is a filmmaker who deserves way more praise and exposure than he receives. Beginners is excellent, but it's his magnum opus 20th Century Women that really floored me. It's been over 4 years since the aforementioned film hit theaters, and Mills is finally preparing to release his highly anticipated follow-up. Come On stars Oscar winner Joaquin Phoenix as an artist who becomes the guardian of his precocious young nephew and forges an unexpected bond over a cross-country road trip. The film will be entirely shot in black-white and will likely be just as visually stunning, technically unique and deeply human as Mills' previous films. Mills is once again partnering with A24, who will likely campaign the film for awards consideration. 3. Soggy Bottom, TBA, TMZ. Whenever Paul Thomas Anderson announces a new film, it's impossible to not anticipate. He has proven himself time and time again to be one of the most consistent filmmakers currently working, as there is artistic merit in every single one of his films. His latest directorial endeavor, Soggy Bottom, sounds like it could very well be a personal favorite of his. The film is a 1970s coming-of-age epic, depicting a high school student whose life is turned around when he suddenly becomes a world-famous actor. The full cast has yet to be revealed, but so far includes the likes of Bradley Cooper, Alana Haim, Benny Safdie and newcomer Cooper Hoffman. The film sounds very much in the same vein as Almost Famous and PTA's own Boogie Nights. It will certainly be one of the most widely discussed films of the year and could finally earn Paul Thomas Anderson his long-awaited Oscar. 2. June, October 1st, LR, Timothy Chalamet as Paul Atreides and Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica Atreides in Warner Bros. Pictures and Legendary Pictures action-adventure, June, a Warner Bros. Pictures release. Denis Villeneuve's highly anticipated adaptation of Frank Herbert's classic science fiction novel topped my list last year, and while it didn't quite reach the top this time around due to some more competition, it's hard to not be more excited for it than a year ago. June was initially set for release this past December before the film was postponed. While we didn't get to see the film, Warner Bros. Released from the most recent trailer that looked absolutely spectacular. Villeneuve has proven with Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 that he has mastered the craft of elevated blockbusters, making him the perfect choice to adapt the previously deemed unadaptable novel. The scope on display is like nothing we have ever seen before, and it's a film that will certainly draw audiences back into theaters, after the state of cinema has been damaged due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With a spectacular filmmaker at the helm, an absolutely stacked cast and a score from legendary composer Hans Zimmer, Dune is without question the biggest cinematic event of the year. 1. Dear Evan Hansen, TBA, as much as I am starving for a major theatrical event in the vein of Dune, there is absolutely no way Stephen Chbosky's adaptation of the Tony Award-winning Broadway musical Dear Evan Hansen would not top my list. Having had the chance to attend the theatre production live in Toronto a couple of years ago, and it absolutely blew me away and made me a massive fan of both the play and the accompanying soundtrack. Chbosky directed an all-time favorite film in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, so as soon as it was announced he would be helming the Dear Evan Hansen adaptation, it was inevitably going to top of this list. The film will see Ben Platt will be reprising his role as Evan Hansen, while Caitlin Dever, Amy Adams, Julianne Moore and Amandla Stenberg round out the impressive supporting cast. While the film is not officially slated for a 2021 release, it just wrapped production this month and is heading into post, so it will most likely be ready for awards season.